BigFix team. So if you hear me use the name BigFix throughout this presentation, we were acquired by IBM about 5 years ago so, and we're currently using BigFix within the IBM environment as well. So I'll talk about some of that throughout the presentation today. So what I plan to do is go through some slides, not a lot of them, and so it allows some time to dive into the live console so you can see our product running live. So let me go ahead and dive in here and give you a little bit of an overview of the platform here. So 1 second here. And let me pop over to my slides here. All right. So 1 second here. Just starting my VM up so we can dive right in.
And Bob, while you're doing that, I'll mention to the crowd, we're going to be doing these series every month for the next 10 months. So make sure you come back next month for some additional capabilities and overviews that we're going to be providing.
All right, so you guys should all see my screen now. So let me pop into slides. So basically, everybody knows about all of the threats across the world that are happening. We've got, half the devices are mobile. You've got, 13 billion security events per day, and in rising, and we've got tons of other things that are happening. So and we've got all these mobile devices that are attaching to your network, and as well as laptops that are roaming and coming back in from wherever they might be. So the key is looking at all this complexity, all the complexity of the malware attacks, the severity of things that are happening. We hear targets and all the other banks and things that are getting hit. We want to make sure that we can manage all those devices no matter where they are, and we'll dive into that a little more when we get through more stuff. So on multiple platforms, multiple places. All of the compliance requirements are huge, so we're trying to stay up with those as well, which is huge. So we're going to make sure that we can be continuously compliant. Endpoint Manager is not one vertical, so we're all over the place. And we're going to skip through a lot of the marketing slides so we can really get to the meat of what IBM Endpoint Manager is in BigFix. But no set verticals, but we're in some very large customer bases throughout the world. And we have millions of endpoint customers in the educational market. You'll hear about us a lot. Basically, this is a very good slide to kind of give you a quick overview of the whole platform. Today, we're going to really dive into patch management and how we work on multiple platforms, as well as handle a lot of the third-party patching within environments that other solution sets don't do. So when we look at this, we're basically an on-prem type solution that allows us to manage all of your patch management, lifecycle management. We'll cover those in a few minutes, but we cover up to 130 different platforms of computers. So if you could count revisions within Linux, Unix, Windows, Mac OS, AIX, we cover all across the board. So which is really key in how our solution set works with unified management. If you look over to the left here, we show PCs, Macs, POSs, ATMs. A lot of the point-of-sale machines that are out there are running Windows XP embedded, as well as ATMs. So we actually run on a lot of ATMs and keep those secure as well. It's scary to think that Windows XP is out there handling some of your stuff, but we actually can keep that secure as well. Over to the far right, we've got a distributed data center offering. So we basically can handle any of your servers that are on clusters in the virtual world. We tie directly into that. So we manage that just the same as we manage any endpoint directly. On the very top, you'll see our smartphones, tablets, mobile device piece. This is part of our acquisition of FiberLink, which is a product called NAS 360. And we're basically incorporating that into our platform as well. And we basically have that in the cloud as a SaaS offering, but we also have that as an on-prem offering, and as well as integration of that mobility security that ties directly into the BigFix or IBM Endpoint Manager platform, which is very key. So we can manage every device that you own throughout your environment. So looking down on the bottom here, what we're going to focus on today is patch management. But I would just want to make you aware that we do have a lifecycle management suite, which we'll cover a little bit when we dive into the live platform, which has a lot of benefits as far as asset discovery and remote control and operating system deployment. And we'll cover a little bit of that, but focus on patch. Power management, we use our policy-based control so we can actually handle policies, power policies that are out there. So we can it would save companies money. We're very known in the educational market, saving a large school systems and government agencies millions of dollars per year just on power. So it's a big area there. Good opportunity for you guys. Core protection is alliance with Trend Micro. So we basically taken the Office Scan product, integrated into our console, so we can do deployment and management of the antivirus products as well. Our security compliance suite allows us to handle all the mistakes that are out there from government agencies, Defense Department, the federal desktop core configuration checklist. So we can actually go in and look and monitor your current compliance, but we can also harden and secure all of your endpoints to those checklists as well. Our software usage and analysis product is a license, compliance, and reporting tool. So it allows us to actually go out and see what's actually running, installed on your endpoint as far as software goes. We compare the fingerprint of what we find to a catalog so we can identify that software correctly. We also handle in-house software that you may have developed, so we can add that to the catalog. So we can then use that as a reporting tool so we can compare that against what you're really licensed for, as well as compared to what you actually have that's out there on the endpoint. We also track all the usage, so if you see that people are not using certain products, Adobe Acrobat or Microsoft products or whatever it may be, gives you an opportunity to actually cut back and save money on your installation, your license there. Great tool for auditing or preparing for an audit. Our server automation piece allows us to actually go and automate workflow and processes throughout your organization. So it's specifically used a lot in the server side of things, clusters. So this would be building out clusters, whether they be the physical or VMs. So we can build them out, install a database, have another server then connect to the database, install some more software, bring it up. A cluster starts running out of capacity because it's too much contention. It can then see that and then spin up additional instances. So there's lots of uses for the server automation piece, as well as patching, and which we're going to cover today. Patching one, dropping one server, patching it, promoting one, and bringing them back up and managing that whole cluster very easily. The far right is our data center bundle, and that's basically a bundle that consists of our lifecycle management, our security compliance module, and server automation. So it's really focused on the data centers, which is key. So we compete directly with BMC and HP and a lot of the other folks in that server market at a very affordable price. Moving on. This gives you a little bit of a, I'm going to make sure little bubbles up here. So the other key about our architecture is we talked about desktop, laptop, servers, mobile devices we support, as well as when you look at specific endpoints, point-of-sale machines. This could be cars, car navigation. We're getting in that market so we can manage cars and navigational type pieces. So we can give you some additional information there and make sure that those devices are secure. We're one common agent, and we'll talk about this when we get on our architecture slide. So we have an agent-based technology that goes and installs us the endpoint so we can make sure they're continuously compliant. We have one unified console, so we can see all of those devices all at once and manage them all in one place, which gives you really key unified reporting. We're one single server, so we support up to 250,000 endpoints per server in highly distributed environments. And so I'm going to dive into that in a second here on our architecture slide. But that's really kind of key how we work. But the key is all your system management and your security management under one umbrella, which is key. So as Rhonda mentioned earlier, we were actually moved, our endpoint mobility services was moved from IBM into our security division, where we will talk about some of the other integrations that we have. So moving forward, I'm going to skip through a lot of the marketing slides here. We're well known throughout the world in large banks and implementations here. So here's basically a great slide to kind of go over architecture. This is really what differentiates our solution from other solutions that are out there in the market. So looking at the very middle, you'll see the BigFix server. This is actually called the IBM Endpoint Manager server now, but we still like to call it BigFix. And this serves as basically a collection point for information. So when we're looking out at this picture of this WIN and your local area network that may look very close to what you guys have, we've got remote offices, we're showing slow links throughout, and we have remote sites. Our whole technology surrounds a single intelligent agent, and the reason being is we don't really have any single point of failure, which is really key to the way things work these days. So being able to deploy an agent out to a machine that's out no matter where it is allows us to manage that machine in various ways. So when we deploy that agent out to a machine, it checks itself into the main server in the middle, which is really a database as well as a console access for administrators. So that agent checks in, it provides information of what its state is. So that could be how many patches are missing, how many patches are installed, any kind of security and vulnerability issues, those kinds of things, which is very key. So we're providing the visibility in the database here in the middle. So that small agent's about 10 megs in size. It's CPU throttled, so it's not going to go above 2%, which is very key. Having that small, nimble agent is very important in large, wide area networks as well as to prevent traffic. It's a policy-based agent, so it holds on to policy and continuously makes sure that it's holding on to what you told it to do. So say Rhonda has a firewall and she goes and turns off her firewall, we're going to turn that right back on because we have a policy set to make sure that that firewall is secure and it's turned on at all times, no matter where that endpoint is. So when you're looking at these remote offices throughout your network, what we do is once we have an agent that's deployed out in that segment, we can actually go create a relay. So anything that most of our agents we could put a relay on, we could turn into a relay, or you like to call it a caching device. So it could be a print server, a file server, an existing hardware that might be there. In the case where some of our clients have hotel kiosks overseas, we can use those for a caching point or a relay. That allows the agents that are close to it to talk to that one relay to get information. So in the very middle, if we're going to deploy, say, do a software distribution of Microsoft Office, or we're going to push out a large service pack or a whole group of patches, we can basically get all of those patches to the relay close to where those endpoints exist before we deploy it. Now, the other key thing that we do very, very well is work in these highly distributed environments is to be able to do bandwidth throttling throughout the network as well. So between the relay and the agent, or the relay back to the main server, or cascading relays, we can do bandwidth throttling and make sure that we're trickling content down to that relay and then deploying it so that we don't have to worry about any network congestion. You'll see the satellite link here. We actually have a hotel in Kuala Lumpur that's still on the satellite link, and we trickle overnight to a relay that's actually on a hotel kiosk, and then we deploy the patches once they're there and ready to go at any given time. And we'll cover a lot of that as we go through too. The other point that I want to make as far as this agent and how it works is it works off the network as well. So when we look over to the right, we see the DMZ, bottom right here. We can actually take a device or a machine that's sitting out in your DMZ, and we can make it a relay to or a caching device. So when users leave your network, so you have a sales force, you get people traveling or working from home like we all do, when those devices leave your network, they're still controlled and managed within IBM Endpoint Manager or BigFix. Reason being is those devices will then, once they leave your corporate net, they're going to be looked for the second relay or a multiple secondary relay, which would be this external interface. So these users can come in and get new policies, and it still allows us to do patching, keep their antivirus up to date, make sure they don't have any vulnerabilities, so they're always secure and compliant. So when they come back in from their travels and they plug into your wireless network or they plug into your LAN via Ethernet, you're covered. We make sure that they're always compliant. Or some new patches or updates come out and they're out of the office, we can make sure that they're continuously updated, which is very key. The other key point in the architecture slide here is that we only use one network port. 52311 is our default port. It can be changed globally, but it allows us to only have one network port to manage throughout your whole organization, so no Swiss cheese. The other key thing to know about, since this is a policy-based agent that sits there and holds on to policy, we're not a scan-based technology. A lot of our competitors scan around your network and then they come back and you've got some configuration drift issues there. So you've always got a lag. We're holding on to that policy, so we don't have a lag, which is key. Up to the top right, and we're almost done with the architecture slide, we have what we call BigFix content delivery or IBM content delivery. We take patches and updates from Microsoft, from Adobe. We'll get into Linux, Unix, AIX. We get those from those manufacturers, and we basically take their patches and updates, and we pull them down to the server here so we can look at your entire environment and tell whether there's something you need to patch, and then we can act on it. So that's really kind of key in how our overall architecture works, and it's very key in highly distributed environments. Now, within IBM, we've been basically using our own, eating our own dog food or whatever analogy you like to use. We've been using this to replace several in-house tools that we've been running on for years ago. We've replaced 4 or 5 so far as security configuration management, our patch management, asset management, all of our compliance piece we're all doing in-house, running our own tool. I think we have 1.3 million endpoints across the globe that we're managing, so we have the agent running on ourselves as well. So moving forward here, I'm going to go ahead and jump into patch management here. I'm going to actually go through, and we talked about a lot of this already. We've got the cloud-based delivery, so all the operating systems, all the different platforms, third-party patches, updates, those kind of things are all pulled down to the server. And then all of the multiple platforms we support in one intelligent agent. Our success on first pass success rates, we're up to 98, 99% internally, which is huge. So if you look at the Gartner or Forrester reports, you'll see us stand out in the top right quadrant as that goes. Reporting, overview, patch management. I'm going to dive in to the live console so you can just see all this stuff live. And we're going to dive out of PowerPoints here, so it gives you guys a break. All right, so I'm popping into IBM Endpoint Manager now, and I'm going to go ahead and log into my VM. All right, let me do this full view. All right. So what we're looking at here is your live console. Let me make sure everybody see my console. I know you guys are you're muted. Just verifying everything's. You can see it?
We can see it.
Awesome. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and full screen here so you can see our live console. Let me make this bigger. So what you're looking at here is our BigFix or IBM Endpoint Manager console. So if you look over to the right here, you'll see computers. You'll get computer name, OS, CPU. What I like to point out is this last report time. So when we're looking at last report time, it allows us to see when these machines have actually checked in that have agents. You can see it's 9:24, 57 seconds a.m. I'm 2 hours earlier than you guys are in Denver. So you can see across the top we've got a lot of properties, we call them. How much RAM's in the machine, BIOS information, free space on drive, total space on drive, subnet IP address. All of these properties are all customizable, so we can add any property we'd like by just clicking on the bar here and choosing another one we might want to display. Or I can actually come in and create my own property and say, hey, Dell just did a battery recall, and it only affects a certain serial number range. So it gives me the capability to create one property and collect that information from all of our endpoints, no matter where they are. So if they're working from a hotel or home or wherever, we've got it covered as far as that goes. We know what's happening on those endpoints. If I go down to the bottom left here, you'll see that we've got different domains. These are different capabilities that we've added into our console. So with that one intelligent agent, all those capabilities we talked about earlier, whether it be patch management, endpoint protection, mobile device, security configuration management, server automation, we only need one agent. So there's no other agent needed. So once we deploy one agent out there, we can add capabilities over time. So when we look at lifecycle management and dive in, and I want to look at, say, inventory management, I can come down and say, okay, I want to look at Windows inventory, and I can look at analysis. And we have analysis that can actually go out and look at those machines and detect information. So if I were to go to look at application information for Windows, I'll pull this display window up so you guys can see better. And look at results. I'll pick on the machine I'm running on here called Maui. And I'm going to go view this as a summary so you can see all installed applications. It's looking at the top 10 based on usage, but I'm going to say I want to look at all the applications that are actually installed on this machine. It actually gives me a list that I can see with all the revisions of the software that's installed, as well as the percentage of usage on this machine. And if I go down a little further, I can look at services. And this is really key in how we work. This basically shows you that this real-time agent is actually looking at not only what services that are installed on this machine itself, but it's also looking at the service state in real time. So that's important when we look at these endpoints that are spread out all around the world or wherever they might be in your organization. We can see if there's a service that should be there, shouldn't be there, whether it's running that shouldn't be, that kind of thing. Very big for help desk and those kind of things. So when we look at services and things like this, when we have an agent installed in any type of platform, we can manage that within our console just like you were sitting at that machine. So it doesn't matter where that machine may be, we can start the service back up. We can do anything we want. We can look for certain things on the machine, which is important in how this technology works. We can look at VMware installation information on the machine, so serial numbers, license types, versions, all your hardware type information, manufacturers, laptops, types of CPUs, what's connected to the device. So it gives us a big deployment availability to see anything that's going on. We can look at eligibility information. So maybe this is Windows 8 or Windows 2012 that you want to move a machine up to. So you can see whether they have the right graphics card, whether they have enough memory, those kind of things, whether you throw that machine away or you upgrade it. So one click of the mouse, you see that within your whole organization. So that's a little bit on our analysis capabilities so we can gather. So if we dive into patch management now, which is we're going to spend the rest of the time on, if we click on patch management, it immediately gives us a window that shows us all the patches that are available in the last 30 days. So if we look at the very top, I can see that on February 10th, yesterday, there was a bunch of Microsoft patches. Patches for Windows all came out. And then I can see whether they're applicable in my environment as well. We're going to dive into a lot of that as well. So it immediately gives you a quick snapshot. But if you go up to the upper left here, we can look at our application vendors, OS vendors, and we have actually patch families we can dive into. I'm going to dive into OS vendors right now. I'm going to pick on Windows machines because they typically have a lot of patches that are needed. So if we look at Microsoft Windows here, we have 11,000, and I'll just go ahead and click on it, 11,996 patches that are relevant within my environment. So, or available within my environment. So if you look to the right here, this shows you a list of all these patches. These are all vulnerabilities, updates, security flaws, and they're rated by criticality, so source severity. So this is actually coming from Microsoft or Adobe, and it's showing us that these are critical patches within my environment. So I actually have these sorted by criticality as well as applicable computer count. So if we move this over a little bit, click that one more time here, move this over a little bit, and I go back to sorted by criticality, and let me do a sort again here. It's showing me all the patches in my environment that are severe and critical. Let me do applicable computer count again and scroll this up. There we go. It's showing me all the patches in my environment and how critical they are as far as applicability. And let me go severity here. I'm back to critical. So if I wanted to go look at one of these patches where 7 of my 72 machines here need this. So I go on this vulnerability here, and I scroll up. We take these patches, say Microsoft or Adobe or Oracle with their Java, those kinds of things, and we pull them into our console. This is our cloud-based approach. And then we basically create an XML document, which is what you're looking at right here. So we take the description of the vulnerability. This is an MS10-33 media compression vulnerability affecting Windows XP Service Pack 3 machines. So if I look at this, we take the description directly from Microsoft. We have a deployment button down here. We have a security bulletin that takes you directly back to Microsoft so you can read about this vulnerability. But under the applicable computers, we've got 7 computers in our environment that need this update and this patch because there's flaw there. So this is really the key in how we work, is we're not scanning. We actually have that live agent that goes to say, okay, raise your hand if you meet this criteria. Or if you're at the football game or whatever, raise your hand if you're thirsty and you want a beer. So all these 7 computers raise their hand because they meet the criteria for this specific patch within my environment. It doesn't matter where these machines are. They could be in Europe. They could be any place. So we're tagging those machines. And how we do that is we click on the Details tab of this patch, and I move this up a little so you can see it better. We categorize the patch, when it came out, its QID, the size of the patch. If it gets really big, then you're looking at bandwidth throttling and utilizing that. This is security hot patch. This is the CVE information. We scroll through, what we have is a relevance language. So we're actually talking to that intelligent agent, and we're just asking it questions. So, hey, you have a Windows operating system. Do you have the following kernel? Do you have a certain registry key? Those kind of things. So we're going through these registry steps or these questions extremely fast. In less than a second, all this is done. And then once that's done, if those machines meet the criteria, they raise their hand. Hey, I need that. I qualify for that kind of thing. So once that's done, they raise their hand. At the very end, what we do is we supply you with an action. The action actually goes out and says, hey, we're going to go get this patch from Microsoft. We're going to pull this down to our server in the middle that we showed earlier, which runs on Windows or Linux. We have a Red Hat version running back-end DB2, as well as the Windows running SQL. It allows us to go pull that down to the same server, and then we can cache it out to a relay that's close to the endpoint that needs it, which is really key. So once we've done that, it allows us to actually come in here and deploy the patch out to one machine, all these 7 machines, or all of our machines within our environment. So if I click the action button here, it actually brings up a target window. This target window allows us to choose the machines that are relevant within our environment, so we can go tag those and push those out directly. Or you can go in target via Active Directory. Most of you have Active Directory, so we can see exactly where these endpoints are. So 4 in America, 2 are Latin America, and these are 2 that are in New York. There's 1 in Italy. So I can go target these directly based on my Active Directory tree, or I can target by group. So we can basically create groups to allow you to go push patches out as a standard manual group, we call it. So if you have some test servers you want to put in a group and someone's managing, or what we call automatic groups. So we can actually have groups set up based on criteria. So if you want to just manage machines that where you have an issue with machines that you're pushing patches out to that are running a certain version of SQL, we could say, hey, create a group for all those machines that are so-and-so platform type that are running this version of SQL. They automatically will be added to a group, so we can keep those groups separate from the other groups and do different things with them. So that's pretty key in how we work there. We looked at properties earlier. This allows us to target by property. So if we wanted to target by machines that have less than something amount of RAM, we can, target by a certain OS type, those kind of things. We can do that as well. So pretty flexible in how we can target machines. So the execution tab here also allows us to go choose what time we're going to patch these endpoints. So we can just click the button and say, we're going to patch them right now, or we can say, hey, we're going to do our patches on Friday the 13th. We're going to run those between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. So we can set a window of time that we're going to go push these patches out. So when you leave the office today, you're already set up the schedule to push this patch out at this current time. We actually have behavioral characteristics as well. So say a patch fails, do we keep retrying it? Do we wait? Do we wait till the machine's rebooted? Those kinds of things. That's key. Now, to focus on the strengths of where we're going, when we look at the Take Action box here, we've got reapply this action box. So if we come up here under Policies and we click on Policy, notice how the reapply this action box checks, and it says whenever it becomes relevant again. So if that patch gets corrupted or it's not applied on machine, we can automatically reapply this patch whenever it becomes relevant again, which makes it a policy, which is key. So we're looking at this one patch here now, but this works for any group of patches. So if you have a set group of patches or security checklists or vulnerabilities, you want to make sure they're always patched, they're always up to speed, we can make that whole group of patches a policy and reapply that action whenever it becomes relevant again. This makes us very powerful because we have that live agent. If we look down to the very bottom here, we've got staggering things over a certain amount of minutes. So when we're pushing large patches and out or software distributions out to these endpoints, we can stagger over network bandwidth and load and that kind of thing. Under the messaging tab, if you're going to push something out in the middle of the day, say it's something really critical, you can ask the users to save their work. You can schedule a deadline, so they have to reboot within a day, that kind of thing. So if you're talking desktop computers, you can show them what's running, those kinds of things. Typically, you wouldn't do anything with this with servers because you're just running silently in the middle of the night. But Things do get pushed out in the middle of the day. If you have something critical, we have the ability to notify those users and let them know what's going on. You can also come in here and look at the configure offers. So we can actually come in here and say you have a software distribution package. You can make it an offer to an end user, and then they click the accept button to accept the offer. So when they're done working on their document or whatever they're working on, they can click it and install it themselves. A post action allows us to choose a restart afterwards. We can set a deadline on restarts or float something on the screen saying, having them accept that. Within IBM, we get this. We've got about a day or so before we have to accept this. If they're going to we need to reboot our machine after we've applied a whole bunch of updates. But that's all customizable as well, and we can have a message sitting on the screen. Applicability. This is a lot of gobbledygook that we kind of saw earlier, which is a part of that fixlet document we looked at. So we want to make sure before we're pushing anything out to a machine that it evaluates the true. So this is really key. So we're not going to do anything. We're not going to push out to a machine that does not really need it. So they raise their hand, they evaluate the true, and this is the criteria. Less than a split second, it's done. The success criteria is really key in how our technology works. Is we want to make sure that it evaluates to false afterwards. That gives us that high success rate on first pass. This is very key in how this technology works. So always make sure that it evaluates to false at the end. If it does not, then it's failed, and we keep track of actions that are happened. And I'll show you that in a few minutes and how we track anything that happens in the consoles. The action script area allows us to go ahead and use additional scripts. So if you want us to use a shell script, you're doing other things, you can paste that in there and run commands on these computers as well. So we're looking at this. This could be a blank task, and you can run anything on the endpoint that you'd like. So that gives you a little bit of how we target and push patches out, which is important. When we look into other things here, when we look at the applicability on these patches, I'm looking at showing all non-relevant content. And if you look over to the right, I have 11,996. If I click this tab here, you'll see how this drops off to 983 patches. So within my environment, all the patches I have to worry about are these 993. The patches available from Microsoft are 11,000 something. So we can really narrow down what you're really focusing on and what you're working on. So we can take these patches, all these critical ones, and I'm just going to shift click through these. If I right click here, I can then take these patches and I can add them to an existing baseline. Say you have a patch baseline for every week or every month or whatever frequency you do it. We can add those to a baseline so we can just manage that one baseline of all these critical patches. I can also say I want to add this to a new baseline. It goes and says, okay, I'm doing a custom baseline. I'm going to say it's an iron side baseline, and I'm going to use this. If I look at the components that are in this baseline, I show all these vulnerabilities, the critical ones that I selected. They all have an action. I can change the order in which these are installed. We automatically do the relevance, so we're looking at this whole baseline. And now if I say OK to this, it wants my administrator password, console administrator, so that I'm authorized to create this. Now I've got a group of patches, which we refer to as a baseline, applicable computers. Now they haven't started talking to the endpoints yet, but in a few minutes, the endpoints will start popping in here. So if there's an endpoint that needs just one of these patches, they're going to become relevant, and they're going to pop into this applicable computer count. And then I have an action history area over here where I can see what actions when I apply things. So if I come here to this baseline and say, click to deploy, it automatically gives me my target window, which I'm very familiar with already in pushing out one patch. But now I'm pushing out however many of those patches, that whole baseline. This could be 100, it could be more. So I can manage all those patches at once, top off my machine, say, hey, okay, I'm going to start this patch. We're going to start this on Friday like our other patch, and we're going to run this between 1 and 3 a.m. All I have to do is click OK, I'm done. It's going to deploy that group of patches to all of my relevant machines that I targeted at that given time. So that's pretty powerful in how that works. So what I want to show you as well is in my environment, I have a few platforms installed here. So I've got AIX, I've got Mac OS X, I've got, let me show down relevant as well. I've got all of my Red Hat stuff. I have Sun, Solaris, and I have SUSE. Now, there's other patches available as well for all the platforms. I'm just not adding everything into my demo machine here. We also have patch families. So this we actually just recently added. So if I want to target SQL, I want to target if you're running links with your environment, you want to patch that. So this takes us into application patches. Exchange. So if I look at Exchange here, they're all gray because I'm not running Exchange within my environment. But if I was, there's a lot of Exchange content here. So I can manage Exchange, patch it, and bring it up to speed. Here's third-party, Windows patches for Windows applications. So we've broken that down into families. Application vendors is key. So not all of our patch solutions out there do third-party patches. And one of the biggest these days is Adobe. So we get all these Adobe patches, whether it be pushing out the new application or keeping it updated, all the Flash, all the readers, you name it. There's a lot of Adobe content that we want to make sure that is secure and patched. So we've got that as well. Mozilla, we've got the Microsoft third-party Office and all those products. Apple, all its QuickTime and all of its products that we patch as well. And then the old Sun Microsystems Java stuff, as well as all the Oracle, all the runtime Java stuff that we can handle within my environment, what's applicable, those kinds of things. So we cover all the third-party patch pieces as well, which is key. All patch management, we've got dashboards, so we can go look at different vulnerabilities. We actually have wizards that can go out and push other content out. So if you have content that, say, you've developed in-house, whether it be an application, whether it be a patch for some other type of application vendor, we can actually use our wizard and go package that up. So why don't we dive in there real quick while I have a little time here. If I go to wizards, we've got wizards that do all kinds of things. So if I look at all wizards, so you get an idea of all the different things that are here, I've got wizards that can go and do all kinds of custom things and push different things out. We can even do patch wizards. But software distribution allows us to take whether any application patch on the Windows side, MSEs, the EXEs. I can call this Ironside again. I'm going to click Next. I can go choose what file that I want to push out. I'm going to hit Next or Browse for that file. And then I can go choose any EXE within my environment, and there's a setup file right there. Go ahead and package that up. And then I could choose the applicability of this. What does this pertain to? Do I want to exclude all the other machines in my environment? Because this only runs on, say, Windows 7 and up. So I can go ahead and create this way. I can go ahead and register the application. I can register a service. I can set up the path where I want this installed. I can insert a registry key. So we can do a lot of things on the software side. Go ahead and click Next. This is where you would add a, -S for running silent. Hit Next. This is now packaged up and ready to go. All I have to do is click Finish. Now I've got an application that I'm going to push out. The Ironside application, I could go rename this. And then here's this familiar deploy button. So if I click the OK button here, once my authorization to go ahead and do this, now I have this deploy button where I can just click, target the machines that I want to deploy to, and I've pushed out that application to any machine that I'd like in my organization, which makes this pretty powerful, whether it be a patch or an application or an update. The other piece that I'd like to dive into and show you a little bit more about is we've got a ton of dashboards that we ship with for all of our different modules. So we could quickly dive in and look at vulnerabilities that are on your systems. So we graphically chart out and we display based on, percentage and that kind of thing. So you can actually go dive in and click on that critical and see all those vulnerabilities and the most vulnerabilities. So it looks like this parsing vulnerability. 10 of my computers have this. Severity's high. I can then click this, and it would take me to all those 10 machines in my environment. Those are the 10 machines that I need to have this vulnerability patched on. So it gives me immediate visibility of what's going on, and you can kind of dive down and see more of this throughout the console. But lots of dashboards and things like that, so you can really give you a good overview of your entire environment. The other piece that is pretty critical here, get towards the end, and then maybe we'll open it up for a couple questions. We show all the fix lists and tasks. These are all the updates within that are needed within my environment, so I can then hone in on any of those environments. There's the 6 that need that patch right there. So I can dive in. Here's all the baselines that I've set up, so I can go manage topping off my devices, keeping them up to date. What I didn't show you was actions. So anything that's done in my console that's pushed out, it tags it when it happened, whether it's successful or not, and who issued it. So you can see I've got a lot of tasks that I've pushed out, and there's single actions. I can sort by percentage complete, whether it's still open, any of those type of things. So the key thing that I'm trying to get across here is you can have multiple operators that can only see certain types of content. So when I look at all content here and look at computers, maybe you don't want all your operators, the Linux guys patching your Windows machines, or your Windows guys patching Linux machines. We can actually set up a operator console and have role-based permissions, so we can say they're only going to see the machines that they are responsible for. Maybe that's an OU in your Active Directory, or maybe it's a specific computer group that we could set up, whether it's automatically or a manual group. That's very key. So when we're going to come in groups, we're going to create a new automatic group, which is very key. We have a lot of capabilities. So if I want to look at all my Windows machines, I can actually come in here and say, okay, I want to put all my OS contains Win into a group, and they'll automatically go into this group. I can also come in and add other types of criteria. So I can say, maybe I'm looking for a certain Active Directory OU. So in that case, I can actually go in and say, okay, Active Directory path is OU equals accounting. Then accounting, and all Windows machines and accounting go into one group. This also could actually be used for specific things in your environment. This is very powerful in that we can use what we call a relevance expression and say, okay, we want to say equals SQL version something. This is then going to take any machine that's a Windows machine that's in the accounting group that's running a SQL version so-and-so. It's going to put them in a specific group for me automatically without thinking about it. So that's pretty key in how we can use that for targeting. The other piece that's very powerful is under our tools, we can come down here and look at web reports. Our web reporting engine allows us to actually go in and take all that data that we're collecting from the intelligent agents into the database and actually go report on it since all the information is there for us, anything they collect. So we've got numerous reports that are already here that come with the solution set, but it also allows us to create your own, so you can explore data and create your own custom reports if you want. But we can also come in and give you a quick view of a report. I'm going to look at a report called Fixlet by Content, Compliance by Content. And I'm going to choose all of my critical patches from Microsoft, and then I can apply those to a group. So if you have a specific group you want to look at that somebody's managing, or you just want to look at all of your Windows computers, I can go ahead and click Generate this report, and it's querying that database for live information that we've collected from this agent, and we'll see how my environment looks like. This is a demo environment, so it typically doesn't look very good, but it gives you that big overview, unified management of your entire environment, which is really key. All platforms. It looks like I'm up to 17% compliance today, so I'm looking good. So, but this is really a great tool if you're interested in this product. Talk to Ironside. One of the key features that we do very, very well when you're comparing us to our competition is when you do a proof of concept, we install in about an hour, and then we deploy the agents out, and we're collecting and creating reports. So if you want to double check something in your environment, you want to see how your other tools are working, it will really open your eyes to what we can actually find, because we have that real-time agent that's out there running and collecting that information and giving that global view of your entire environment. So hopefully this was helpful. If you want to open up the line for any questions, Rhonda, I'm open for that. Otherwise, I'll pull my email up, and I'd be glad to take on any questions later as well, or contact for Ironside. Let me go ahead and minimize this, and I'm going to go to my first slide, which actually has my email address on it. There you go.
Yeah, there you go, Bob. I can see it. So that brings us to the end of our webcast for today, for this month. But again, I'm going to remind everybody that we're doing this series, and we're going to have about 9 more of these to continue to drive education and awareness, especially in this space, especially with all the heightened security, compliance, cyber attacks that are going on. You won't want to miss this series. It's going to be really good this year. So there's Bob's email address. And also, when you registered, you would have received an email from Jerry Romanak. But if you open that up, my personal email address is in there as well. It's rkaiser-oaks@ironsidegroup.com. So either Bob or myself, more than happy to jump in, roll our sleeves up, and bring the solution to you guys live, as he explained. So Bob, we don't actually open it up for questions because of the time frame. But again, these guys have your email. They have my email. We'll follow up with some additional emails, and like I said, if you guys are ready to roll up some sleeves, Bob and I are ready to come help you. So with that, you guys have a great day. Let us know if you're interested and want some additional information, and watch for the next series to come out here in a few weeks. Thanks, Bob. Good job.
Excellent. Thank you, Rhonda. Thanks, everyone.